Hey guys, this is Coach Chauncy for the Coach Chauncy podcast. Thank you for visiting our YouTube channel as well as listening to this podcast. This podcast in particular is the first podcast on our new channel as well as our new podcast show. So this is the very first, the inaugural podcast for the Coach Chauncy podcast. And what I wanted to do for this particular podcast is to kind of focus on who I am. If you don't know me, or if you heard of me, or you don't know me from Adam, whatever the case may be, wanted to kind of give an overview of who I am, what I'm about, from a football standpoint, and that kind of thing. So, I guess I'll kind of start in the beginning. I started playing football at a very young age, like most of us. I moved here to Minnesota from San Francisco, California as a youngster and started playing youth football in the city of St. Paul. We initially moved to East St. Paul and started playing football at LES, Lower East Side Football. Go LES. Played a couple years there. Then we moved from the East Side over to the Rice Street area, Rice Street, Como area. So I started playing football over at North Dale. Played there through middle school, and then moved into high school. I played football at Como Park High School and did some solid things there. I've always been on the record by saying I wasn't the best player in the whole wide world, but had a good career there, a solid career. I had some opportunities after high school to get into some lower level college stuff, Division IIIs and things like that here locally. And I decided not to go to college and not to play in college. Just with some life things going on and just kind of where I was, I had opportunities to do so, but did not take them. And got into real estate, not real estate. I got into church and things like that and started a family kind of early and just kind of God's plan and life's plan for my life, and then got back into football, playing semi-pro football. So I played semi-pro football here locally in the cities and did okay. Again, wasn't a world beater, and but got to meet some good people and had a good experience with that. Got into coaching in semi-pro. I started as a let me back up. So I started coaching youth football in the city of St. Paul for North Dale, as a matter of fact. So I coached there for a few years, a handful of years, and then took a little bit of a break. Just kind of started my family again, like I said, having a young family and that kind of thing, and then got back into football with playing semi-pro football. And then I started coaching in semi-pro football. I was a assistant offensive coordinator for a season, and then towards the end of the season kind of took over the reins kind of as a primary offensive coordinator, then became a head coach of a semi-pro team by the name of the Twin Cities Titans. That was cool. So played for the Titans and then moved into coaching for the Titans as in an offensive assistant role, and then kind of taking more of the reins towards the end of the season. And then with some things that I was able to do on the coaching side and the relationships I built, I took over as the head coach there and did that. So after being with the Titans for a short stint, moved into a team by the name of the South Metro Patriots. I was in a couple of roles there, offensive line coach, offensive coordinator for a while, and then after a short stint there, I moved into a team by the name of the Twin Cities Sabercats and took the role with the Twin Cities Sabercats, and we did some pretty exciting things. So I was offensive coordinator there. We went to a national championship game with the Twin Cities Sabercats. Set some records for scoring for that season. We averaged like 38 points a game or something crazy, and ended up losing in the national championship game, which was a bummer. But it is what it is. You know how that be. So, and that was fun. That was exciting. So I did that for a season. And then I got hired on at Brooklyn Center High School. I want to say that was 2017 as the offensive coordinator. I was there for that season, and in that season, my head coach ended up transitioning out of that role, and I was hired on as the interim head coach that season. So from OC to interim OC, interim head coach, from OC to interim head coach. Goodness gracious. I went from OC to interim head coach that year with the Centaurs over at BC. And then I interviewed for the permanent head coach job and got hired for that, which was a dream come true. Ever since I was young, I've always said I wanted to be a head coach on the high school level. And so that was great. My first head coaching spot. I was there from 2017 to 2024. An interim head coach. And so had a good run there. Won a sub-district championship there. We had some good seasons, some rough seasons. But we did some good things over there. Had a great run. Built a lot of relationships with the kids in the community that will last a lifetime. And that was a great experience. And a part of my heart will always be purple. Go Centaurs. So then I moved into the role, got offered the job at Hopkins High School. So we went from Brooklyn Center, which is a 3A school, to Hopkins High School, which is a 6A school. And so just going into my second year as the head coach at Hopkins, first year, did some pretty decent things. We broke a losing streak, a 30-game losing streak. So 3, almost 4 years, the varsity program at Hopkins did not experience a win. And actually, JV, freshman, and even middle school wasn't a lot of winning being done there for that period as well. So the program hadn't seen wins on multiple levels for a long time, and definitely with some big gaps in there for the youth teams. So, matter of fact, my seniors from last year had not won a game. So now that I'm thinking about it, they had not won a game since 7th grade. So we're talking 3 years before last season. So that's 5 years they have not won a game, and they've been playing for the whole 5 years, every single practice, every single game, and didn't win a game. So it was pretty cool. So we came in, myself, my staff, started to change the culture and started putting our DNA, our energy, our way of doing things in there, and we were able to get 3 wins. That was pretty cool, and actually put together a winning streak for the first time, who knows how long. So that was cool. And now I'm headed into my second season as the head football coach at Hopkins High School. So super excited about the opportunity at Hopkins, and we got nowhere to go but up. And we're already trending in that direction with some things we did last year, with the new energy, the excitement, enrollments up for the team and interest level in the team. Last year we increased registration a good number. I want to say it was like 25% or something like that. So that was good for the first year. Our goal is 100% increase, so doubling. We didn't quite hit that, of course, but, one of those shoot for the moon and hit a star type of situation. So going into year 2 now, super excited, got a lot of talent and amazing coaching staff, and really excited about what this season is going to bring. And we got high expectations in terms of how we go about doing things and the daily work that it takes to get the end result of winning games. And, we approach it the way that we should, and we take advantage of the opportunities we have over the summer and also going into fall camp. We're feeling very confident that this year is going to be a good year. So just a little bit of background about me and my coaching philosophy. So my coaching philosophy in terms of our team structure and how we want to build our program, and just who I am and how I'm made as a coach is I break it down into an acronym and a slogan. So the slogan is "Go Hard." So go hard, and the hard is an acronym. Is our four pillars. So we refer to them as the four pillars. So the first pillar, first letter is honest. So we take a lot of pride. I take a lot of pride on being honest, and being real, being transparent, being somebody that is, consistently the same person. I know I'm not for everybody, and and like Nick Saban says, if you want to make everybody happy and be loved by everybody, especially as a leader, then you should serve ice cream. So I know no matter how hard I try, how honest I try to be, how real I try to be, how transparent I try to be, how fair I try to be, how to be consistently me every day, to be a better version of myself every day. There's just going to be some people in this world, in this life, that just don't like me or don't connect with me, relate to me, and that's fine. That's why I'm very confident and very comfortable in my own skin. I know I'm not going to make a fan out of everybody. I'm not going to, have everybody love me, like me, whatever the case, and I'm totally fine with that. And the reason why I can be super confident and okay with that is because I know that I'm doing everything from the right spirit, of the right place. Again, with full transparency. Sometimes as the head coach, especially, and coaching coaches, my first job is, well, amongst many jobs, but one of my jobs is to coach the coaches. So there's honest, real, raw, from love and with construction, with a constructive spin. Some tough conversation I got to have sometimes with them, and vice versa. Sometimes they got to tell me some stuff. Hey, coach, I know this is what you're trying to accomplish, but hey, I think if we did it this way, it might be better. Hey, this ain't working. We need to change this, or hey, coach, if you did more of this, more of that, or you were more of this, more of that, this would help us to accomplish this and that. So that foundation of honesty, real, transparent, straightforward, no BS, no fluff, but with love, that sets the table for us to have real relationships, and that's the goal. So if we can start from that place of honesty, we can build on that as our foundation, of relationships, success on and off the field, etc. In coaching, we got to tell people what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. Sometimes that's a tough place to be, as a coach, a head coach, position coach, whatever the case may be. Sometimes as a player, we give our players, we give them that space to have those conversations with us. Sometimes they need to tell us some stuff that we don't want to hear, but we need to hear. And if we have that going both directions, the direction that we come in, if we're coming together, then we can go up together. You know what I mean? So that's the honest piece. Accountable is the second one. So H, now A and the hard is accountable. So this boils down to everybody doing their jobs, knowing their jobs, and making zero excuses. That's the definition we use for it. So bottom line, we all have a job to do. The old Bill Belichick, do your job. If you consistently do your job, accomplish your assignment, if you show up to workouts, if you go to practice, you're accountable to your teammates and the standards and expectation that we have for our players. We have a list of expectations. Show up to school, be in every class, don't have any grades under a C, and that even a C is frustrating for me because, that's average. A C is average, right? So, these first couple years, we want to bring our kids up to a standard, at least meeting that standard, and then we're going to push it up higher to a B, for everybody to be at a B. But to start out with, trying to establish a culture, trying to establish consistency, that's where we're at with the grade piece, but accountable. So everybody's held accountable, starting with me. I'm the number one person accountable because I'm ultimately responsible for everything. It's my team. Obviously I'm accountable to the athletic director. I'm accountable to our principal, our superintendent, to our families that we serve, to the community. So my job is to lead and grow the program as a head coach. That's our job, is to lead the program, grow the program, guide the program towards success on and off the field, to build and develop our young people, our athletes, all that good stuff. So I'm the most accountable. The buck stops with me. If we get blew out by 50 points on a Friday night, in the newspaper and in the community, they're not talking about how bad the defensive coordinator is or the offensive coordinator is, or the players even. They're talking about Chauncy. Man, Chauncey's defense, man. What's up with that defense? Oh, man, Chauncey's offense, man. What's going on with the offense? Or, man, the kids, they ain't doing this, they ain't doing that. Man, what Chauncey got them doing? One thing I always say is, what is he not doing? Okay, what are you not doing that's causing the problem? So, in the sense of accountability, we have very, very clear expectations for myself, job descriptions for myself and all of our coaches. We have expectations for the players in terms of conduct, at school, in their homes, in the community, in terms of on-field participation, in terms of what we're looking for them to be doing on the field. So we're very, very crystal clear with communication, number one, and always working to improve that communication. And with that clarity of communication, then we can hold people accountable to what we're looking to do. And again, it kind of comes back to the first letter of honesty, and that's being able to have those conversations and tell people, hey, you are or you aren't meeting the expectations and standards, and here's what needs to happen to restore your accountability to your teammates and to the coaching staff or whatever that might look like. So that's accountable. So we hold everybody accountable in every way, and we're looking to improve how we do that in every way. So the next letter, so it's honest, accountable. Now the third letter is relentless. Relentless. So this is doing your absolute best in everything and never being satisfied. That the last point is the big point. Never being satisfied. So this is who I am, and these principles is not only this football stuff, but this is how I try to live my life on a daily basis. This is how I try to show up and how I try to model, wherever I am, So relentless, never being satisfied. So let's say we win state next year. We run the table, we go undefeated, and we shock the world, and we win state, which is possible. All things are possible. But let's say we did that. The next season, we wouldn't be satisfied with just having one state championship. We want two, and how we approach it from a daily basis. The principle is in every possible way. So from the booster club, how we fundraise, how we serve, how we're giving to the community, all these different things. How can we do that better than we did yesterday, last week, last month, last season? How can we improve? How can we get better as players, as athletes? You should be looking to be better than yesterday. That's a big thing we always say. Hey, let's beat yesterday. Hey, let's be better than yesterday. Hey, let's get 1% better today. That's one of my things that I say all the time. One of my catchy, Coach Chauncy things is 1% better. If you show up and you're 1% better than yesterday, out of 365 days in a year, you'll be 365% better than when you started a year ago. And that's amazing progress. But keeping it simple, keeping it short, sighted on just focusing on the day, let's be relentless in our pursuit of being better than yesterday in every way, as a student, as an athlete, as a son, as a brother, as coaches, as a husband for us, as a father for us, adults. In every possible way, let's be better than we were yesterday, better than we were last week, better than we were last month, better than we were last year. and striving for the absolute best. Our program mission statement is we want to bless and serve as many young people as possible and provide them with an extraordinary football experience. Extraordinary football experience. So what that means for me and for us, my teams that I lead, is we want them to feel like, man, if I never play college football, if I never go to the NFL, I'm satisfied. Why is that? I had the best football experience you could ever have at Hopkins or at Brooklyn Center or wherever I am, wherever we go, whatever we're doing. I'm satisfied because, man, it didn't get better than what we did over at X team. So for Hopkins, if someone plays for us at Hopkins, we want them to leave the program like, dude, that was the best football experience I could have ever had. I had the best facilities. I had the best nutrition. I had the best support on the field, off the field, best relationships, best vibes, most fun. Shoot, we won some games, hopefully more than we lost, but when they look back at it, a year after graduation, 5 years, 10 years, they'd be like, dude, playing at Hopkins was everything. Because we gave them everything, we provided them everything necessary to have that extraordinary experience. So being relentless in our approach towards the team and towards the program and how we're showing up every day, every week, every month, every season, getting better relentlessly in every possible way is how we're going to accomplish that extraordinary experience on the field, off the field, and, in every possible way. So that's relentless, being relentless every single day as coaches, as players, as boosters, as families, as the community, every way we can get better, every way we can improve. No rocks unturned. There's no idea not explored, nothing we wouldn't do to get better. Okay. And then last but certainly not least is disciplined. So honest, accountable, relentless, and now disciplined. Discipline, our definition for that is just simply doing what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it. Doing what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it. And it's the simplest thing, but it's the most difficult thing. Showing up every single day for lift, for agility training, for study hall, for team meeting, installation, film, practice, treatment after practice, whatever is going on that is part of the plan, consistently executing the plan. That's what gives you the results on a Friday night or for the final exam or the job interview, the test, whatever the case may be. You doing what you're supposed to do through the process over a period of time. That's what gives you the big result. It's that 1% we talked about every single day that adds up to be the 10%, the 20%, the 50% improvement, the growth that we're looking for, the wins on a Friday night. The process is so powerful. And that's one thing that we preach and believe very, very, very strongly is we really want to master and embrace the process, preparation process. And my coaches, if they listen to this podcast or they watch this video, they're probably saying amen because, I talk about preparation and our process more than anything. We rarely ever talk about how many wins we're going to get or, the schematics and X's and O's. We're diving so deep into the details and the process of preparation. That's what's going to be the differentiator. So, for example, we have a 25-step teaching process, a very deliberate process from I don't know jack about football or it's a brand new season to the very end of I've mastered my position, my expectations, etc. of my role, my position at the end of the process. So it's a very deliberate 25-step, super intentional process. And we focus on the 3 types of learning. So audible learning, hearing it. So we tell and explain. So then we have steps within the process that accomplishes the audible part, the hearing part. Then we show and display in many ways through the process. So, hey, we're telling you how to do this. Now we're going to show and display it, okay, in huddle, in our playbook, through film cut up in clips, through installation on the big board in the meeting room, breakout sessions with your position coach, and then go onto the field and show you with a binder on the field so you can see it again and walk through it so you can see other people doing it. And then, progress from there. So within this 25-step teaching process, we're very intentional about teaching and mastering the process and the preparation. And then there's doing it, of course. So you hear it, you see it, then you do it. So we master this process and this formula, okay, for preparation, and that's just discipline. So if you're a kid and you come out and play for the Hopkins Royals and you don't know how to play football, by plugging into our system and how we go about developing and teaching, you're going to be just fine and learn and even be productive, okay? Yeah, and then we also have a illustration. I'm struggling for the right word. An illustration that we use called the Hopkins Royals football robots. Hopkins Royals football robots. So what we're doing is we're treating our kids with love like they're on an assembly line. So from the very beginning, as you use a car, a car starts out with like maybe the main frame, with no wheels, no windows, no lights, no Bluetooth stereo system, nothing. You just got the base frame. And even that, they got to make that. But let's just say we start with a frame. So a kid is a frame, okay, and we're putting them onto our assembly line to create a robot. So with the robot principle is we're going to teach our kids very, 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 very core principles of their position. So once we identify what their position is, right? Let's say they're a linebacker. So for every linebacker, whether you're an inside linebacker, an outside linebacker, whether you play a 4-3 or 4-2, 3-4, whatever, for every position and role within a defense, whatever that defense may be, there is 2, 3, at the most 4 core skills that is required for you to play that position, learn that position, play the position fast. So that's another thing. So our Hopkins Royals football, brand of football, what we're trying to build, what we're trying to display is fast, physical, and disciplined. Fast, physical, disciplined. So what does that mean? When you play fast, not just like I run a 4.2 40, but playing fast means I am reacting and not thinking. I'm playing instinctively based on reactions and instinct, not thinking and trying to process in real time on the field. If you're playing on the field and you're thinking, you're not able to play fast and play to your best. Also, it's dangerous because if you're thinking and not moving and reacting, you can expose yourself to injury as well. Most football injuries happen is when somebody's thinking or unsure, and then the action starts and somebody falls on you, hits you, and you're not expecting or whatever the case because you're thinking and not playing. So we want our kids to play fast, physical, and disciplined. So with the principle of fast, we want every kid, regardless of ability, to know and have mastered their position so much so that they're just playing on instinct, full speed, reacting. And every position on the field, there are core reactions. It's a chain reaction. When a ball gets snapped, there's a chain of reactions happening all over the field that dictates the outcome of a play. So if you're an interior linebacker, I don't think I'm telling anybody secrets here, but you're taught to read the guards, the triangle. So if I'm an inside linebacker and a guard pulls that way, 9 times out of 10, that's where the play is going. So if you're trained to read that guard and you've mastered that, just that one skill, I mastered on reading the guards. If a guard goes from here and he pulls over there, more often than not, if you follow that guard, you're going to find yourself near, if not right at the football. and make the tackle, and we all live to celebrate and be excited about that play. Okay, so with that said, for every position, we break it down to the top 3 to 4 core skills needed for that position. If executed masterfully and full speed, because they're playing fast and not thinking, if we execute that fast, instinctively, you're going to have a lot more good plays than bad plays. And if you got all 11 kids on the field reacting and playing fast, you're going to be a dang good football team. And that's the goal. So with the Hopkins Royals football robot principle, we're going to train our kids K through 12 on the core things they need for their position group to master and play fast. And as they go up through the pipeline, of course, it gets more advanced and things like that. But if you got linebackers from middle school that come into high school and they already have mastered the top 3 or 4 core skills to play linebacker, as they get bigger, faster, stronger, smarter, more experienced, they're going to even more so master and be more comfortable doing those things, and they're going to be a really good freaking football team. You're going to have a good football team in general. And also the principle in that is you're never going to have to be in a situation where you're rebuilding your team. You're building depth naturally and developing depth naturally through your process, right? And you're preparing for the future. Process and preparation, preparing for the future, developing the future. So as the little guys come up through the middle school and they go into high school with those core skills already mastered, or they're feeling very comfortable with it, as they get more coaching and get more experience, and again, their bodies change and all that good stuff, you're going to have some lights out players, and that's going to make your team be better. So that's a big part of my core philosophy as well. So in terms of X's and O's, I think everybody can agree that, having a team identity is important. So I'm really big on running the football, as everybody pretty much is, and especially in high school football in Minnesota. So from an X's and O's standpoint, we like to play a spread offense, but we've done it in many different ways over the years. It's evolved we've run it under center, we've run it from, shotgun, from pistol. So we've modified it to fit our kids over the year, but the system itself is predicated on being a spread offense. We want to utilize our athletes and their skills in space. We want to minimize defenders in the box, run the ball for a minimum of 4 yards per play, and run, play, action, pass, and screens and things off of our core runs, and like to be very aggressive as well with our play calling. So that system that I've run for many years has been successful on multiple levels, and we're excited about instilling that system here at Hopkins in year 2. Year 1, we had a great offensive coordinator. Brian Cupido came in and did a heck of a job with our system, with his system, and kind of and adding some things in there that I asked him to add, and using his creativity and experience with his system, and man, it was amazing. He did a great job, and we've got a new offensive coordinator this year. His name is Steve Leiden, who will be coming in and running the system that I've designed, and he and I have collaborated on ways to improve it and better teach it, and some things that'll help to add to it that could help us to be more productive. So Coach Leiden has 25 plus years of experience, 15, 20 years on the collegiate level, calling plays, coaching offensive line, coaching receivers, being a passing game coordinator, spent time at SMB as their offensive coordinator, spent 6 years there, and coached Drew Suggs, NBA player who played football, was a phenom on the basketball and the football field. He was the offensive coordinator when they had him. So he has a great understanding of how to use athletes, how to put kids in the right situations to be successful, and being flexible in your approach to make sure it fits your kids. So I'm looking forward to having a powerful offense this year. And so offensively, that's kind of where I'm at. like to run the ball and, zone-based run system. And, if we got a mobile kid, we can use that. If we don't, we don't. And we've done it both ways. And like to keep a lot of pressure on the defense to defend all 53 feet of field, or yards of field, wide. And then obviously all 100 yards of field deep. So using our system, our scheme, our players to threaten the defense at all levels and make them play honestly, and put them in some tough situations to take advantage of that and expose their overreactions to that. So that's an overview of me offensively. And defensively, I like being run first on the defensive side. I'm going to stop the run, especially, again, high school football in Minnesota. You can't stop the run. You ain't got no chance. So being very, very focused on the play of our offensive line, defensive line, making sure that we're sound in the box. Run fits are good, and kids are well coached and understand how to execute those. And behind it, I like to be multiple in coverage, and but with the focus on stopping the run first, and get the defense in long yardage situations, and then you can have some fun on third down after you win first and second down. Overall, coaching philosophy, aggressive, not afraid to take risk, and take opportunities that are given to us in all three phases, special teams as well. And we like to keep the pressure on the defense, offense, and also special teams units by being aggressive and forcing the issue. So one thing we have too is, it's just me and my coaching philosophy. We have what's called the magic numbers. So we use this formula as a metric to judge and to lead us towards success. So the magic numbers, short story, we were having a tough season at BC. We had a tough season at BC, back at Brooklyn Center when I say BC. And we were like, dang, man, I mean, I know I'm not, Bill Belichick or nothing, but I ain't this bad as a coach. Golly, there's got to be ways to improve and move up from here. So I sat down and I pulled some data, and I found that if we ran the ball for 4 yards or more per carry, we won those games 90% of the time. I was like, okay, I can work with that. So we got to get 4 yards per carry. Great. Defensively, when we held opponents under 4 yards per carry, we won 90+% of them games too. I was like, all right. So the first magic number is 4. We got to get 4 yards per play. So whether that be a run, okay, or a quick pass, bubble screen or some kind of quick pass or whatever the case. But we got to get 4 yards per play. So we get 4 yards per play. You do that 3 times as a first down. You get a handful of first downs. You end up with points. So that was exciting. So we figured that out. And then the second number is 10. So throwing the ball, we believe in, if we're going to drop back to throw it, we should be looking for a decent gain. Okay, so we said, okay, look at the numbers. Every time we average 10 yards per completion, okay, we won 90% of those games. It was like, all right, so 4 yards per rush offensively, and if we complete passes and average 10 yards per completion, 10 yards is the first down. If we throw it and get a first down when we throw it, and we average that per completion, 90% of the time we won those games too. It was like, okay. And on the defensive side, when we average giving up more than 10 yards per pass, we lost. It's like, all right, so 4 yards per play for us, keep the other team under 4 yards per play, 10 yards per pass, keep them from getting 10 yards per pass, and then turnovers. So when we forced 2 turnovers, interceptions, fumbles, whatever the case may be, we found that we won 90% of those games as well, 90+%. So when we force 2 turnovers, we have a 90% chance of winning the game. Like, that simple. You go out and you get an interception, you get a fumble, boom. That right there in itself gives you a 90% chance to win that game. So that simplified it too. Okay, so we got to find a way to get turnovers, in a way that's not going to hurt us. You can't be going out there and blitzing 8 every play, but, whatever way you do that and coaching the players to look for opportunities, punching balls out, stripping balls, whatever the case may be, to get those turnovers, we found that we won 90% of our games doing that. So then on the other side, when we did not turn the ball over 2 times or more, when we turned the ball over 2 times or more, we lost 90% of the time. It was just like, dang. You fumble twice, you throw a pick, boom. The chance of winning that game is slim to none. But on the contrary, when we did not turn the ball over 2 or more times, 90% of the time we won those games. So that's where the magic numbers come from, and we use that as a measuring stick for everything that we do, offense, defense, and special teams. And with special teams, we want to try to steal possessions and steal points whenever we can. So we're going to be, we believe in being very aggressive on special teams, and when the opportunity presents itself, so that way we can get into ways of stealing points and field position, things of that nature. So that's just kind of who we are as a team. We don't hide it. We don't have nothing to hide, and we are who we are, and we do what we do, and very excited about the opportunity moving forward. Get into kind of like, why do I coach? I know I've been all around the board here, and but the reason why I coach, when I was a youngster, I didn't have the best structure and support, for direction and things like that. So the coaches that I built relationships as a youngster, they became my big brothers, whether they had the same skin as me or not. I've had black coaches, white coaches, Hispanic coaches, Asian coaches, so just those people being in my life, being around to give me some honesty, some structure, some discipline, to push me, tell me I can be and can do, things successfully, on the field, off the field. So that was very influential for me as a youngster. And then coming up, getting into high school and things like that, that sense of team, that camaraderie, and then again having those people in my life to influence me positively did wonders for me in high school as well. And then as I got older and started coaching youth football, and I just put myself in that role of trying to be a positive influence on young people, I seen the impact that it had, and I got hooked right away. And also goes in conjunction with my my call in the ministry. This is not exactly the podcast, but I spent many years as a youth pastor at my home church back in St. Paul for many, many years, 10 plus years, doing youth ministry and being a youth pastor and serving and trying to build up young people. So it's a call of my life to work with young people. It's a call of my life to coach football, and I feel very, very confident that God has called me to coach football as a ministry to the young people as well as to the community, coaches, etc. that I'm called to serve, and I'm set in place to serve. And nowadays, again, kind of with that said, I see myself as a leader, influencer of young people. That's who I am. That's why I'm here, and I take great pride in that and how I show up, how I conduct myself, being that person to spearhead the themes, the commitments, the mindsets, the mantras, the way that we move and operate, hoping that the things that we're teaching, the processes that we do, the standards, the expectations, all the things that we're doing, trying to positively influence the kids, will take some of those things and use them in their life, and whether it be now or later, that it can positively impact them and help them along their journey, along their way. From an X's and O's standpoint, like most coaches, very competitive. The competition of building a great program, on and off the field, there's a lot of pride in that, just knowing that you're building something greater than yourself, improving it daily. So that challenge, that competition to be better than yesterday, to build our program, to build our team, to build our young people, our coaches, that part is very rewarding from a competition standpoint of, me versus me, the old man in the mirror. But then also the X's and O's, on the field, in a way, it's like chess, So myself, my coaches, our staff, we're preparing game plan for positioning our kids, to go out onto the football field to execute our plans, to win their matchups, to win games, to overcome the plans and game plans of the other coaches on the other side. So that point of the X's and O's, the chess match, the cat and mouse, the strategy, the battlefield, all that good stuff is very, very rewarding and fun as well. So this learning, growing from a schematics and X and O standpoint, how to use that knowledge against the other team, other coaches, to successfully, score points, stop them from scoring points, and win games. That's very rewarding and satisfying in itself. So very competitive. Like every coach, you don't get rewards for studying and preparing, but very, 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 very passionate about studying the game, learning as much as possible. YouTube, clinics, books, anything and everything you can do to learn and grow and expand from an X's and O standpoint, a leadership standpoint, a mindset standpoint, et cetera, et cetera. Doing it, done it, love it, super passionate about it. Like, staying up late at night, get up early in the morning, eating, sleeping, breathing football. And love the game, love the kids, love the privilege that it is to lead and guide a team, a program, a community, be a part of a school culture, school community, build that sense of family, develop and impact young people, go out and compete against ourselves daily, compete against other teams weekly, that stuff. Love it, football junkie. So this is the introduction to Coach Chauncy. Probably longer than I anticipated, but that will give you a pretty good idea of who I am, what I'm about, what gets me going, why I do what I do. And like this video, share the podcast. It'll be available on all the podcasting platforms. It'll be available on YouTube. Like the video, comment, drop comments, give me feedback, share the video, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the podcast on your podcast platforms. Thank you for listening. Coach Chauncy, out.